And welcome to the Rebel Daily live stream. I am Andrew, and he is
Dakota Christensen.
That worked so well, Dakota. RebelNews.com/live streams is where you get the daily feed for our daily live stream, believe it or not. And you can always discuss with us what we're going to talk about, and you can always send a paid chat on Rumble called a Rumble Rant, or an Odyssey as a hyper chat, I believe, in their cryptocurrency and or fiat. You don't pay in fiat if you want to impress producer Efron around here. You pay in crypto, Dakota.
Yes,
That's
sir.
how the world works. So you can give us your questions, your comments, your concerns, your insults, your compliments, your links, and anything else in between. Maybe menu item suggestions from McDonald's drink days. Dakota's going to go there for, what is it, Free Friday?
I was just saying, just before hopping on the stream here, got an email from McDonald's
That's important.
promotional team telling me it's National French Fry Day. They're giving out free fries.
It's important.
Not to, promote McDonald's for the sake of promoting McDonald's, but just so you know, in case you're into French fries.
In case you're into French fries.
In case you're into fries. Get some free fries today, kids.
One of your listed interests on your profile is into French fries. We've got lots of stuff from around the world today, of course. We've got the stuff from the Netherlands with, what are their names? Lewis and Lincoln, Double L, LL Cool J out there. We've got tons of depressing news from Canada. We were remarking just before we went on here that Canadian news isn't very exciting, but man, is it certainly depressing and telling you how your life's going to get worse. That's basically all the stuff we have from Canada.
Yeah.
One, your life's going to get worse. Your life's going to get more expensive. You might need more vaccines. So it's going to be all the greatest stuff coming through.
Yeah, I think my brief sneak peek as to what we're looking at today in terms of Canadian news is essentially the imminent collapse of Canada slowly, steadily rolls forward, and step by step, we're going to fall. It's going to be great.
Step by step. Ooh, baby. Producer Efron loves New Kids on the Block, I've heard. He's probably got a poster on his ceiling, not on the wall. He wants
you
to
can
see
lie
it
in
when
bed
he... Exactly.
Stare up, yeah.
But we do have good news to start off, all the way from down under, from Avi Yemini. So if you guys have been following along with YeminiReports.com for 2 years, I'd say, like I have, you've seen him be arrested several times.
Yeah, I think it was 3 times.
3 times. One was just reporting at a protest for his own safety. Another was arrested when the lockdown protest first started in Australia, and they just decided he was the only journalist they wanted to arrest. And the third one was the time, I believe, at another protest for Australia Day, where they just arrested him, put him in a paddy wagon, drove 10 blocks, and then just kicked him out in the middle of nowhere where he doesn't live.
Yeah, and that's not to mention arresting a security guy on a separate occasion, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yeah, the big guy with the hairdo. I forget his name, but shout out to him. So the Victoria police have had to apologize for Avi Yemini. I believe they took it to the Supreme Court, and they said that they used political bias in their arrest, so they've had to apologize to him. So Avi was on Andrew Bolt's show last night, which is on Sky News Australia, so a big network there. And we're going to show a bit of it to you. You want to skip ahead, Olivia, just to, Avi's interview here. It's a pretty long video. We'll get to that portion, I think. Yeah, about halfway through there, once he joins Avi. All right, let's go ahead. This is Avi Yemini on Sky News, Down Under. Oh, it's loading. We're getting hit with the buffer.
Our internet.
It's tough when that happens. It happens to me all the time. It's really just Twitter videos that do that when you try to skip along. They had a few quotes there that they pointed out. 3, quote, unlawful arrests of, quote, the same reporter, Avi Yemini. I'm so glad you took this to the Supreme Court. I believe that's in the judge's ruling of him. Dakota, do you think we're ever going to get any apologies from the Montreal police, the Toronto police? I think those are the 2 worst offenders.
I highly doubt. I think we've had some run-ins. What other police force we've had run-ins in Canada? Yeah, I know for sure the 2 of those are ones I know we are suing. We were just talking about in a separate meeting about how awful the Montreal police were. I think it was yesterday. Yankee loves to talk about how bad the Montreal police are.
The Montreal police, they abused me. I mean, they did. The thing is, when Yankee was out in Montreal during the curfews, which are moronic to start with.
What was that, lockdownreports.com?
I think so.
Check
and then Yankee was out because nobody else was allowed to be out. Well, none of the real mainstream media there wanted to do anything. They just wanted to stand and do a report for 5 minutes and then leave. But Yankee was out there videotaping the cops, and he doesn't take any guff from them, Dakota, you might say. And also, the police were picking on the Jews for some reason.
For some reason.
As they will do, I guess, in Montreal.
Yeah.
It was really weird. But can this video work now? Let's try it.
On air
There we
about
go.
an unjust, unlawful arrest of a journalist, which I would have thought was concern for every journalist. But each of those arrests, they were unlawful. A serious attack on free speech and a free press. And after 2 years of fighting in the Supreme Court, Yemini has now won that apology from the police. And he joins me now.
feel about
Avi
his tie
Yemini,
to
congratulations.
There's
But
Avi.
let's go from the
Blessed
start.
is
For a
he.
moment, I
Why
thought you
were
talking
you, in
about
fact,
Avi, 'cause I just
No.
looked right in the frame where he had no tie.
Avi doesn't wear ties.
Yeah, he's too cool for
Thank
that.
you, Andrew, for having me. And I guess it's pretty simple.
Careless
In
collars,
each of those
women's
protests,
jacket,
it was
no tie,
either easier to get rid of
chest. Well, I
me
feel like you
because
pop the
tactically
collar too, be like
there
a
was
button,
I
mob
was
boss.
being mobbed by violent leftists, and they thought, well, we're not going to deal with the criminals. We're going to take the one person out of this situation who's lawful. And in the other situation, they just didn't like what I was reporting, and they knew that they knew they had the media class on their side. So I was kind of alone, and I've been alone until Rebel News actually created a legal fund for me where our viewers paid to go to court. And like you said, we fought for 2 years for police to give this simple apology, which is what I wanted from day one, Andrew. And I only wanted it not to feel good and vindicated. I wanted it so that I could continue to do my work freely. And, I'm going to carry this apology in my pocket every time I go to protest now, so that if one of the Victoria Police members haven't got the memo, I can make them read it, and I can say to them, this time, I'm not going to settle at an apology. I'll take your badge. Because it is an attack on
Yeah, but
free speech,
you-
and you're right.
yeah,
the
you say-
entire media
I
class
like
is
your
suddenly
faith.
quiet.
No, but Avi, I like your faith that you're going to show them this apology, and that's going to do. Mate, I've seen the footage. You were saying, listen, here's my press pass, or by what right you're asking? And you're saying, look, the law's not on your side. They didn't care. They didn't answer. They didn't care. So I'm just wondering,
Andrew, I think the difference is now they
think
know
you
I'm
were doing that
serious.
was wrong. Well, maybe.
They knew I didn't do
But what
anything
did
wrong. They knew
think
that
you
the
were
whole
doing that was
time.
wrong?
They knew that. Nothing. They've never been, even if you watch my original arrest each time, at no point could they actually give me a reason as to what I was doing wrong. The difference, I think, between now and then is they know I'm serious, they know I'll fight all the way, they know that I'll take it all the way thanks to our viewers at Rebel News, and they know that even if the media class don't tell the story, like you showed, they mock me when I get arrested, they use it to delegitimize me. But then when the actual newsworthy story comes out, Victoria Police apologise for breaking the law, and not one media outlet has run that story. I find that crazy. And talking about public interest, that apology that you just put up on the screen has had over 100,000 likes in Australia in the last day since it was posted. There's a lot of public interest there. It is a deliberate attempt by the mainstream media to avoid this, to not give this story the attention it deserves, and to embarrass their friends. That's the only thing I can come to, is that it's a protection
casually
racket.
shove
But
him
it's not
there.
going to stop us, Andrew. We have a lot of viewers that will stand by my side now. Like I said, we have a legal fund that paid for that, and we've got a bunch of fights in the Supreme Court, and I'll keep going.
Well, I think what that shows, what you're talking about, is that too many people, too many journalists in Victoria, the Victoria particularly, but say others in other states, feel they're part of the governing class, really. That's what they feel. And you're an interloper,
Absolutely.
and therefore they're not on your side. Plus, of course, you're so-called right wing, so that puts you right on the outer. But what does this tell you?
worst
This whole
smear I
tell you
can
about
have,
the Victorian Labor government as well.
Oh, they loved it. This was the Victoria Police doing their dirty work. And to be fair, Andrew, I'm not the only person that deserves an apology now for the last 2 years what's been happening. I'm the only one that has the means through our viewers, through my legal fund. I can think of, off the top of my head, probably 100 people I know that deserve a similar apology. And it should come, but unfortunately it's not going to come, especially when you have a media class that just excuses this kind of behaviour.
Avi Yemini, I'm so glad you took this to the court because this is a very important principle. You cannot have the sort of armed wing of government, so to speak, arresting journalists that they don't like because they're being inconvenient, either telling an inconvenient truth or, causing people to attack them. I mean, ridiculous. Arrest the attackers. Don't arrest the victim. Avi Yemini, thank you so much for your time.
Well, Dakota, I think Avi's right when he says that he was alone in all this. I can't name a single other reporter from Australia. I think he's the most famous one. And I think the Victoria Police have done themselves a disservice here because now when you go to, say something to Avi Yemini, they're going to have to be so careful because you guys have admitted to wrongfully arresting him 3 times now.
Yep.
How are you going to justify pretty much anything? We know he doesn't cause anything. We know he just asks questions. And even when he's getting arrested in those videos, he takes it really well. He does it really calmly. Now how are they supposed to even say anything to them? And my point is they've backed themselves into this corner where if you say something to him, it's going to be obvious to most people, or if you try to move him on, as they say in Australia, it's going to be obvious to most people that they've had to apologize, they've admitted wrongdoing. So now everybody's going to say, well, what are you doing this time? Are you doing it for the right reason or are you doing it for the wrong reasons? If they never wrongfully arrested him in the past, then they would still have the opportunity to go and say these things to him. But they can't control themselves, Dakota. They can't help but say, this guy's agitating, we've got to get him off the streets, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, when the inevitable lockdowns do come again, when we get to the 10th wave or whatever in Australia, I honestly can still see the police just, this time I feel like their lessons like, okay, guys, we need to come up with a better excuse so that we can actually say, no, we arrested him for this reason, not just arrest him because they wanted to arrest him and then get taken to court for it and have to apologize.
Well, in the Commonwealth colony of Australia, there are no laws that cannot be justified or unjustified, whatever the word I'm looking for, to just arrest journalists like this, where Avi was the only one they singled out, threw on the ground. Get him! There was just, that officer standing to the left there was just like, all right, arrest him, mates. And then they throw him to the ground. He tries to speak to the police liaison. They don't answer his questions. That's the problem, is they never have to, these hockey pads they're wearing, that's what they do. They just buy like Reebok and Cooper hockey pads from Canada and put them on the police. But they never have to answer any questions. And I'm finding myself watching the Daily Color Shorts channel that is a big channel on YouTube where they show a lot of police interactions. And it's hard because most of the time the police are just trying to do their job and they get some unruly citizens just giving them a hard time. They have to arrest them. Tough decisions. But all around the world, when you see things like this where police just act without speaking at all or having to justify their position at all, then people, of course, are going to become untrusting of the police, especially when it comes to lockdowns like that and giving people tickets as they did in Australia and Canada. The Toronto police, famous video we have of them saying, let's target the people with megaphones and signs. And then in Montreal, they're just ticket everybody for not wearing a mask outside, for example, or being out past their bedtime. Or in Calgary, it's honking too loud or honking at all. In Ottawa, it's doing anything, It's hard, and they've really set themselves back. And you wonder, there's the argument of they have to follow the law no matter who's in charge and what it is because that's their job is to just follow the law. But, we're still at this point where it's like, when do they actually start saying no?
Yeah.
When do they actually start saying no? And we see what happens now in Sri Lanka. And we're going to throw to this video in Italy where things are popping off, as I said earlier. Of course, the Netherlands. But in Italy, they're apparently threatening to flood the office of the Prime Minister if he doesn't come out and speak. And we're going to show you that video, and we're going to see you on the other side after a little bit of an ad break. rebelnewsstore.com is where we're going to meet you on the other side. So this is Italy, Italy's parliament. Let's play this, and we'll talk to you guys in a minute. Pushing through the break here. We're pushing through the break in a national break here. Worldwide, Infowars.com. That's what Alex Jones does whenever he doesn't go to a commercial. He's skipping the break. We've been pushing the brakes off for
pushing through. Well, I feel like that does deserve a little more discussion than just the second clip of, basically, because all you see is just the crowds there, right? But the thing is that they're rising up when they're threatening to flood the office of the Prime Minister, right? And basically saying, give us, I don't know, actually not sure what they're demanding, give us less BS?
I think it's the same thing as the Netherlands, where they're putting these emissions. And Tucker Carlson had a good piece on it last night of all these different countries that have put in these green energy plans. And across the board, it's failing. In Ghana was one of the first ones, rolling blackouts. South Africa, Italy is one of them. France famously started in 2018 with the yellow vests because Macron had these. He's like, this is what you guys voted for. You wanted You wanted basically green energy. And now we've got this video of Macron asking Joe Biden to produce more oil because the Saudis can't produce anymore. Sidebar the fact that the Saudis are wonderful people, but Russia's evil, that comparison. But now he's asking Joe Biden if he can make more oil, and Joe Biden clearly just doesn't know where he is or isn't listening and doesn't care because he's the one halting the production. Meanwhile, it's harder to get these countries like France, who have a strong sense of self-worth and national pride, to just roll over, unlike in these other countries where sometimes it's just, we just want to do the right thing, that sort of thing. But the French don't play that as much. So he's, having to back off of it because they don't have the energy, because they've set themselves up to rely on, green energy that doesn't actually work yet.
Yeah, and on that topic of the world needing more oil production, we got plenty of wonderful oil here in Canada that we could, start drilling, start
No, we
pumping,
can't.
start transporting
we can't
worldwide,
do that.
Andrew, like Pitbull. But no.
Mr. International, Justin Trudeau.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. Trudeau does not want that. By the way, buildkeystoneXL.com signed the petition. Just going to throw that in there.
Very nice plug, Dakota.
While we're on the topic. I mean, it's true, though. It's like there's no good, legitimate reason as to why we should not be building
the
these
environment
pipelines.
and the native lands, Dakota.
Yeah, except those arguments do not hold up to inspection, Mr. Andrew. For more details, go to buildkeystoneXL.com.
All right, let's see what David Menzies got to say, everybody.
Great ad here from the one and only Menzoid. Let's check this out.
Hey folks, check out the newest arrival to the Rebel News store. Yes, F is for Fidel and F is for father. I mean, could it be? Yes, half this photo, the colored half, is Justin Trudeau. The black and white half is a young Fidel Castro. Wait now, or is it vice versa? It's so confusing. I'm a huge Forensic Files fan. Wouldn't it be great if we could have piece of Justin's DNA and a piece of Fidel's DNA and put the rumor to bed once and for all? But in the meantime, we'll just have to walk around wearing this shirt, hinting at a great Canadian conspiracy. Or is it? In any event, if you want to get this shirt, folks, go to the Rebel News store and check this out. Type in our new discount code, that's SUMMER, SUMMER, and if you buy 2 unisex t-shirts, you get an additional one for free. What a deal. Like I said, Justin Trudeau, Fidel Castro, as they used to say on the ABC detergent ads, can you tell the difference? I can't tell the difference.
Can you? That's what he should have said at the end. Wild ad from David Menzies.
Classic Menzoid. I thought that was golden.
Well, to segue from Justin Trudeau's, love of the people in the way that Fidel Castro loved his people, and Che Guevara and all those revolutionaries that teenagers will wear on their shirts, we come to the Canadian news focus of the show of the afternoon here, Dakota. If you're on Eastern time and eastward, you'll be in the afternoon. The depressing news. You want to start us off, Dakota, with just Justin Trudeau's first depressing news item of the day?
Are we talking about the food?
Yes.
Yes. So Canadian food suppliers are basically signaling that more price hikes are coming. So if you thought you were already paying a lot for groceries, you're going to be paying a whole lot more. It's not enough. It's never enough. Canadian food suppliers signal more price hikes coming to grocery stores this fall. So, we're talking double digits inflation and food price rising. Well, that's happening even further. It's never enough.
It can only get better. Now, you might be saying, hey, well, what about the grocery companies? Can't they take a cut? Of course they could. They stayed open the whole pandemic. They got special treatment from Doug Ford governments and other governments, so they made probably record profits. With the toilet paper alone, put them in the green for years. Could they take a cut on like another 1% increase in what's the word I'm looking for from the Bank of Canada here? From interest rates and from inflation skyrocketing, of course. Still not as bad as the U.S., but still way up there. Of course they could take a cut. So yes, they're to blame as well, but they're not going to do that just for the government.
To say no, I'm going to push back there. I'm going to say no, they're not to blame at all. Yes, they could take a cut, but that's like...
Oh, they're not to blame for inflation.
Yeah, I know you're just saying they're to blame as well. It's like, well, no, I don't think they're to, because it's like, all right, the government is oppressing the people here in terms of their reckless monetary policy, and then it's like, oh, well, it's got to come from somewhere. So, if not the people, then the businesses. But then even still, eventually...
Well, it all trickles downhill, as they say. Shit rolls downhill, Dakota. Expletive.com.
Wow.
But yeah, they are warning us now because they see the price increases coming. They see all the stuff coming. And this is what happens, is they don't take hits for the government. And why should they? I mean, they can. All I'm saying is they can if they really wanted to, be pals. But that's not how it works. Just like when Joe Biden says, gas stations, lower your prices.
Lower your prices.
That's not their job. Their job is to make money. It's supposed to be the government's job to make the world safe, to make the country safe, to make it more able to be prosperous for businesses. And they're not doing that. And they just don't care. That's the thing. That's what's going on across the world. They just don't care. They don't care at all about the people that they're supposed to serve, the people that actually pay them. As you can see, that Joe Biden sends another $1.7 billion to Ukraine. He doesn't care about the American people. He cares about, his business interests and keeping Ukraine's war going on forever, I guess, until all the soldiers and all the people there don't have lives anymore. They just don't care about the people they're serving in all these countries. In the Netherlands, they just don't care. He spouts the Green New Deal points. He spouts Agenda 2030 and Building Back Better. And they just say, well, deal with it. You have to be poor so that we can look good, so we can meet the UN, the Paris Climate Accord agreements. You have to suffer so that we can feel good about what we're doing. And what actually just makes them feel good is patting themselves on the back and giving themselves money, but they'll disguise it as doing great things for the environment. And now the next great thing in Canada was the hike by the Bank of Canada now, announcing the 1% increase there. Now, the Bank of Canada is forecasting this because of what, Producer Efron? Because they wanted a soft landing.
Yes,
a soft landing on the other side of the crap that we're already in. So a soft landing, according to Producer Efron, means a recession is coming. And I can't disagree, because where else do you go? Hopefully you still have a job. Hopefully you can buy back into any investments you've made. But for the people who don't, Dakota, the people who work minimum wage, or the people who don't have a company that's recession-proof or work for a place that isn't expendable, is what I'm trying to say, their jobs, then they're just screwed. Then all of a sudden their money isn't worth anything. They're not going to be able to go through it. Yeah.
It's this. So we're getting hit with this double whammy of hiking food prices, hiking interest rates by 1%.
Yes.
Recession incoming, a lot of economists are saying, which, it doesn't take any genius to see. That's the direction we're headed in. And like what you were talking about there is just, you have these big government bureaucrats and leaders and politicians who are doing their own fun stuff, following these globalist agendas, essentially, the Paris Climate Accords, Agenda 2030, all this Green New Deal type BS, as well as, of course, lining their own pockets and pushing forward their own agendas, accruing more power for themselves, and every single citizen of their countries are just collateral damage. Everyone under them.
Let's look at this clip from the guy from Bank of Canada. Can we play this? I believe it's the announcement.
Today we raised the policy interest rate by 100 basis points.
Tiff Macklem.
1 percentage point.
Is that his name?
Great name, yeah.
An increase of this magnitude in one meeting is very unusual. It reflects very unusual economic circumstances. Inflation is nearly 8%, a level not seen in nearly 40 years.
Telling you that you're
I want to explain to Canadians why we took
your
this
rights
decision.
in Canada looks like this.
There
they
are three
all are just
key
this
considerations.
old guy with
First,
glasses on, and I'm wearing
inflation
glasses
is too
right
high.
now. But
more
Probably you one
people
day,
are
Andrew.
getting more
We're
worried.
looking at your future.
I hope
High
not.
inflation
But
is
it's
here to
all
stay.
the same guy, and they're just like, well,
We
you
cannot
know,
let
you're
that
just gonna have to
happen.
suffer for a while
Restoring
longer
price
because we're
stability,
spineless, and
low,
we
stable,
don't want to go
and
again. Like,
predictable inflation.
I guess I
is
should let him
paramount.
speak a bit, but they're increasing it
Second,
by 1% is the
The
thing.
Canadian
that's the
economy
bottom line.
is
But
overheated.
imagine being so weak that you can't stand up to Justin Trudeau. I just can't, like,
But the thing is, it's like, you know, why would you? Is if you got a nice cushy position, if you're getting paid, if you're benefiting, why fight
because they don't
against it?
actually care about the country, and this is the problem
Yeah.
with the boomer mindset. And again, I'll preface it with it's not necessarily because of your age or when you were born. It's the mindset of, well, you know, I'm fine, so let's just let everything else. I don't need to pay attention to anything else. And that's what happened with the housing market crash, and that's what happens with inflation, and that's what happens with the people that get put into government year after year. I mean, imagine just being like sitting there and having the bliss of voting in, let's say, 1992 and saying, yeah, Bill Clinton's great. Yeah, George Bush is great. These guys sound like great individuals.
Great people.
Barack Obama, great. Like having Justin Trudeau, great. Stephen Harper, great. You know, just all these people where it's just like, we don't have to look into anything actually underneath the surface. We'll just go with whatever they say. The TV's never lied to me before.
Never.
And I don't have to deal with it because at least I'm making some money. But the graphs keep going up for inflation and cost of living and housing costs and everything, and then the income starts going down. The what's the word I'm looking for? The participation in the market keeps going down, and all these things, they just slowly drift down over time. And it's great to not have to pay attention to it for 20, 30, 40 years until we start hitting the point in 2020 where they're just like, okay, we're really going to go for it now. Just like I mentioned Macron in 2018. Okay, we're going to go for it now. We're going to do the things that you said was okay for us to do. And now this is what we get. This is what we get with Justin Trudeau. All we heard during the first couple of years of the lockdowns was like, Justin Trudeau is just doing a great job, said the boomer nation of the East Coast and of other places in Ontario. He's just doing the best he can, and we're just taking care of him. Then we move on to Aaron O'Toole. Oh, we've got to just get Justin Trudeau out. Aaron O'Toole's a great guy. Aaron O'Toole's gone, oh, you got to just trust Pierre. Pierre is just a great guy. You know, it's just... As long as we don't have to think, Dakota, and that's what I'm getting at here, is as long as we don't have to think, things will be all right. And this is what now we reap what we sow in terms of our electorate. And we're stuck with Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, Emmanuel Macron, Boris Johnson's gone. I'm sure the next person's going to be great. Prime Minister of Australia, I'm sure he's great. Jacinda Ardern, your favorite Prime Minister
Everyone's
down in New
favorite Prime
Zealand.
Minister.
Things are just going to go well if we just stop paying attention. And I think, Dakota, it's time that we start, actually asking questions like this guy from the Bank of Canada. Maybe it's time we stand up, but maybe he can just move to the Bahamas or something where his taxes are safe.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're like a mid or high-level bureaucrat in the government and you're benefiting from all this stuff, why bother? I mean, it makes me think of Bill Morneau, I think, is the Trudeau's previous
He was a
finance
great guy.
minister before Chrystia Freeland, who was the very liberal finance minister who, when Trudeau started to go really crazy on his socialist spending scheme, he's like, all right, whoa, like this is kind of insane. Why are you doing this? And eventually just left because he was like, basically saying, I don't want a part of this. And she was like, all right, leave. I'll have Chrystia Freeland take your job.
Well, he
And here
also
we
had
are.
that thing where he took a bunch of money and to pay for
and
himself.
scandals and all that.
Why Google these people, Dakota? Why even Google Chrystia Freeland and see what she's been up to the last 15 years?
She's just a wonderful, accomplished
She's just
woman,
the most
Andrew.
powerful woman in
She's
Canada.
here
You want
to
to tear
fight
her
for
down.
The people, all right? She's a progressive beacon.
She's just here to fight
the
for the
right hand of
Azov
Justin
Battalion and for George Soros and all the good guys. I don't think anybody actually likes her, to be fair, but it's just like, well, Justin Trudeau, you're not, like, when he's putting these people in power, who in the Conservative Party did Melissa Lansman say, oh, I might have a problem with this woman, maybe we shouldn't be putting her in power? Did Pierre say anything for 2 years? I don't know.
What could they do? It's,
make a big stink of it, talk about it a lot, but they don't do that. This is why they didn't start talking about the truckers and the lockdowns until they had nothing, like there was nothing else they could do. As Dave Rubin famously quoted, on my show, they had to be dragged into defending the truckers. More great news from Justin Trudeau. By 2040, all new medium and heavy-duty vehicles, such as delivery vans and coach buses sold in Canada, must be zero emission. Do you think that might hurt our auto industry, Dakota Christensen?
You know what? It sounds like it might be a great time to bring in the Tesla Cybertruck and those Tesla semi-trucks, the transport trucks, all that. Just let Tesla take over. That's what I say.
You want to read the rest of this in your Justin Trudeau accent? Starting, it's an ambitious target.
For all Canadians. Let me just kind of get into character here. It's an ambitious target, but we have the know-how and the talent needed to reach it for all Canadians. The workers I met today at wherever that is are proof of that. And together we can make a positive change for the safety and health of all Canadians.
You know he's doing real business because he doesn't just have the sleeves rolled up. He's wearing the suit jacket, which means like he's doubling his
making
effort
deals,
into business.
He's in like corporate executive
He's got his
mode.
oh yeah, but he's
also
still
the
has
jeans.
jeans.
So it's like a bit of a casual
he's
man
still
of the
cool.
people.
He's got his hand in his pocket here. He's got his hand out.
He's like that hip
Yeah,
father.
I'm really listening.
Making deals.
And this guy's just like, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm struggling to put food on the table. And he's like, yes, but what I'm noticing here is that there's 5 white people here, and that's unacceptable. This is a multicultural place, and that is our
At
strength.
least they have a woman, so some gender balance.
I don't like the way you're wearing this bandana. Could you possibly be related to a trucker or anything like that? That's gonna. We're not really down for that. Anyways, as they might say. 2040. Which, of course, we need a new year. 2030, we've got a certain set of goals. And by 2040...
I think 2050 is something, right?
Yes, that thing's completely
that's like
CO2
net
free.
zero. So, 24,
exactly.
we need a good middle point there. So.
All coach buses and delivery vans. Because,
Yeah.
what's the most efficient thing that people that make deliveries can do? It's to completely replace their entire load of trucks and vans in the next 20 years. That's going to be very easy for companies to do. And it's going to be very good for the market in Canada. All delivery vans and coach buses sold in Canada must be zero emissions. So that's going to be great for General Motors and all the companies. I mean, they'll get bailed out if they do go bankrupt anyways.
And then the other great question to ask is, all right, so they're all going to be battery powered, and how are we powering those batteries? What is the power source for the electrical grid for those batteries?
Love, due diligence, a self-worth.
Yes, that's great. You don't like Care Bear stare the batteries.
Exactly. That's all the power.
Yeah, that's what I like.
We have, this is just, is this actual good news from Black?
The transgender one?
Yes, Black.
That's just an interesting bit of, hypocrisy. The standard, basically, it's a story here from Blacklock's reporter, our favorite insider scoop in Ottawa. Yeah, basically saying that the Liberals, I believe it was a briefing note, saying that, you know what, newsflash, it is unfair to have biological men competing in women's sports. They have this biological advantage through a variety of factors, and basically saying, the Liberals had the evidence in hand in, I believe it was January, saying that, here's a briefing paper, here's all the facts about why it's not a good idea to let biological men compete in women's sports, and here are all the ways they have advantages, just so you know when you're making policy decisions.
I have a feeling Brother Jagmeet or Brother Justin is going to come out and say, I feel it in my veins, Dakota, that we believe in transgender rights being human rights, and the erasure of trans men is unacceptable.
Jagmeet Singh will put on his nicest pink turban to symbolize womanhood and make that announcement.
You might wonder why the Sikh community doesn't really like Jagmeet. It's almost as if a lot of what he says goes against his faith. But I'm not a Sikh person. I don't know. I just, know the basic tenets of world religions, and that transgenderism doesn't comply with most of the doctrine. Now, you might be confused with many of the new churches waving pride flags and what the Pope's saying, but these people don't necessarily represent what actually is in a religion, Dakota. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sometimes they have their own politics.
This is true. And you know what, when you talk about that, about a lot of the Sikh community not being with Jagmeet, it just makes me think of that one golden video of
we got questions.
Yo, Jagmeet, bro, we got questions. The
guy with spear?
Yeah, the guy with spear in Brampton. I think I was in Brampton. I mean, I believe that makes sense.
Producer Efron, where was that?
I think that was Brampton. I'm like 90% sure.
Okay.
Anyways, he was confronted outside of a campaign event, those guys. But yo, Jagmeet, we got questions.
Producer Efron and TV Lincoln J rule the West Side journalistically. So it's always good to ask them what the real story is. What's the real reason?
I believe Lincoln went and interviewed.
Yes,
that guy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Lincoln's got ever since the Ottawa protest, Lincoln has a connect, as they say.
Connection with the is that the Sikh Freedom Alliance, I think, or maybe
Something
I'm
like
mixing
that.
that up with Drea did some reporting with the Sikh community in BC, and I think that was a Sikh Freedom Alliance. I'm not sure if
I
they're
don't know,
connected.
but they seem like real
I don't know.
cool guys.
They
I'm
are
jealous.
cool. Yeah, I did talk to some of them when I was in Ottawa.
Okay.
They were cool dudes.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Jealous of their coolness.
Yeah.
You know, I once read, Dakota, that women don't think about being cool. They don't. It doesn't, like, you know, when you're a kid, like maybe
Yeah.
you're 13 or 14, and you worry about being cool.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's not something women
I
worry
guess
about.
there's different adjectives. You know, they want to be, hot or beautiful or attractive. Or,
That's not the same as
something.
being cool.
But I'm just saying, like, yeah, like those are sort of the words. It's like, oh, I want to be hot like her, rather than like, oh man, that dude's so cool. I want to be like him. Look how cool he is. You know,
That's
it
true.
makes sense to me. It makes sense.
Producer Olivia, do you worry about being cool? See?
Yeah,
she doesn't.
There
She
you
said
go.
no.
And she's a woman, therefore.
Fact proven.
Yeah.
Our study.
Yeah, this is science.
I think we got to
Live
take another
in
break
action.
here, and then we're going to get to some producer Efron tweeting about my Twitter suspension last night. Then we're going to get to some down under stuff again, back to Jacinda in New Zealand, and we'll have a bit more Ontario news, courtesy of our web and video editing team. Let's see what is up next.
The remains of 215 children have been found in a mass grave in Canada.
Many of you know that just over a year ago, the discovery of the remains of 215 children was found at the Kamloops Indian Residential School at the Tecumseh First Nation. But what if I were to show you that what I just said wasn't true, and that in fact, a year later, not a single body has been found?
This mass grave is a painful reminder of the genocide.
Canada's leaders aren't condemning the burning of churches. No, they're endorsing the burning of churches.
A juvenile rib bone that surfaced in the same area.
Looks like the chief.
Kamloops. So that is a future Rebel News documentary. Our documentaries are off the charts, Dakota.
Off the charts.
Sorry to tell you guys, but if you haven't watched the Trucker Rebellion doc, if you haven't watched the Great Reset series, you're really missing out. Kian Simone, I'm told by him to start pronouncing his name. He's not even French, like me. He can't say that. His editing is insanely good. You've got Lewis and writer Dave also in the mix for that. And then you've got the Trucker Rebellion, of course. I was talking about the Great Reset there. The Trucker Rebellion is Keane's production, being seen in theaters all across the country, from coast to coast, as they say.
Coast to coast to coast. You don't get some Arctic viewings?
Yeah, get those Iqaluit viewings.
Yeah.
Can't drink there, Dakota. Can't drink there.
Interesting. Actually, wait, is
You
that
didn't
a
know that?
rule?
Yeah.
Is that like a
There's
citywide?
No, it's in the territory of Iqaluit. There can't be alcohol.
Iqaluit is the capital city of.
Of Nunavut. There's no drinking in Nunavut.
In all of Nunavut.
Yes.
That does not compute.
That does not compute?
Yeah.
It's because they don't want people drinking when they need to survive when it's minus 40, I guess. I don't know. Fact check me on that, producer Olivia and Efron's. Is drinking prohibited or illegal in Nunavut?
I don't know. It comes to my understanding there is a lot of drunkenness up in the Northern Territories.
That doesn't mean it's legal.
I know. I'm just saying that would be an interesting fact.
We're trying to talk about documentaries here,
I know.
Dakota.
I'm sorry. We're getting off track. Bottom line is go check out, truckerdocumentary.com and exposethereset.com.
Well, if you go to rebelnewsplus.com and sign up, then you'll get access to our documentaries before they become public. Because people want to see them a lot, especially the trucker documentary. But having said that, the Great Reset, probably 120,000 views at least now. Nunavut alcohol laws, and then we'll get to some paid chats, I think, about liquor in Nunavut.
Can you read this?
Barely.
I can
About
barely
Liquor
see
and
it.
Cannabis Commission is
About
responsible
liquor
for purchasing, selling, classifying, distributing alcohol beverages in Nunavut. I could be wrong then.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they have the Nunavut Liquor and Cannabis
Can
Commission.
choose whether or not to allow, restrict, or prohibit liquor in their municipalities.
So maybe it is Iqaluit, like the capital
So
city
maybe I
itself.
was right, and then
And then
out of fear of being wrong to you, Out of fear of wanting to be cool.
I want to be cool. You know what, Andrew? I want to be cool.
I just want to be cool to Dakota for once. Can I expose your running story?
Sure.
So Dakota Christensen, everybody, sometimes you might think he's insane, and you're right. Because
you would be right.
On one of his days off, Dakota just decided, I'm going to run a marathon. And, people might use the term marathon colloquially, but Dakota decided he's going to run 40-plus kilometers just because. And his quote to me was, I usually run 26, but I thought I'd find out if I could do an entire marathon.
Well,
Turns out he had to go to the hospital.
Well, yeah, I guess the bottom line is if you don't build up gradually enough, I jumped from 26 as my baseline kilometers to running 42 a week later. And, I got rhabdomyolysis, which is the fancy term for when you deplete your glycogen stores, then your body basically starts eating your muscles. Your muscles break down, and when that's free-flowing in your blood, you start to have issues. So the bottom line is if you want to train for marathon, guys, do it a little more gradually than jumping from 25 to 42K.
And my advice was, if you're just going to run a marathon, do it in a competition or something, or at least you damage your body for sport.
You know what? I plan to, Andrew.
Oh,
but
that's good,
I'll probably earlier today I signed up for a few ultra races. I'm going to work myself up to going more than a marathon.
So you're going to be one of those guys that Joe Rogan interviews who's like running through a desert shoeless.
Running through a desert with my bandana on.
The sticks. And that's like 4.2 Terry Fox runs. In any event, we've got some paid chats to get to, and I'm not too concerned with talking about my Twitter suspension. We can get to that. Adam Ottawa says Ontario's top Pfizer doctors now telling all adults to get a booster shot. Another one. We'll get to that in a few minutes, I think. Ottawa's so-called top doctor is now telling people to wear masks outdoors, particularly at music festivals. Here we go again.
Yeah, here we go again.
Drake running is what this is. Nice. When he stands in a spot and runs.
Very nice.
Because he's working on the weekends like usual. Way off on the deep end, like usual.
I'm not going to continue that. I'm not a Drake fan. I will say.
You don't have to be a Drake fan.
No.
I used to be in the same. I used to be in the same boat, but he's got some good songs.
You know what? Maybe
the Drake songs I don't like, where he's just talking at you about like a girl he used to love.
Yeah.
All right.
Drake. Any more of these chats?
I know we got more.
I know we got more. I could have sworn I saw a bunch of chats popping up on my phone.
Double check. Maybe they're just not prepared for on screen.
Maybe they're just not prepared. But you know what? That's okay.
They're saying there's none. Dakota lied to me.
Come on, you go check that thread there. Take a look.
No, you're right. You're looking at old ones.
What? Okay, I got a notification for it. Maybe I'm tripping up.
Dakota Christensen running and lying at the same time. So yesterday, Dakota, I went on my mobile device, tried to look at some news on Twitter, as I do when I'm bored with what I'm watching on screen. And there you go. You can see your message on screen if you want to do more paid chats and make Dakota into a truther.
Oh, yeah. That's what it'll do. Send a chat. You'll make me a truther.
That's right. So I go on my Twitter last night. Turns out I was locked out. For what? For reporting on Hunter Biden. So what I did is I wrote an article, and thank you, Efron, for sharing this, and Yakov for sharing this. What I did was I shared a alleged image from Hunter Biden, which was a text under the thread of messages with Dad, and one of the images he sent Dad, whomever sent it to whomever is Dad, was the person in question having sex with a woman, but it was blurred out. And then followed by a identification photo of an ID of Hunter Biden's. See, I don't think it's going to be in the article anymore. I'm going to have to update that because they made me delete the tweet. So I'm going to put up the archive for you because I'm smart and I archived everything. But you can find that online everywhere, I'm sure. But I was one of the only people reporting on this, so I shared the images and archived. And this is the second time I've been suspended for nudity on Twitter, Dakota. The first time is when I shared the video of that Liberal MP on webcam during Parliament walking around naked. Yeah. So apparently you can't share stuff of people who are nude without their consent.
It was a Liberal politician.
It's news. I'm doing the news. I didn't realize that's not allowed. You can't just share the truth. Even though there's pornography on Twitter, Dakota, you can't share the news, even when it's blurred out. So I'm back on there now. Not to worry, but I think this means I can't be verified again. I think
you've sunk your chances there.
Today was the day I could reapply for the 9th time for verification, but they say that you can't have any suspensions or any violations within the last year. So it's interesting that it came the day that I was going to get to reapply, or maybe they just don't want people spreading Hunter Biden stuff. which is
Maybe.
also a very
Both
real
could be
possibility.
true.
Both can be true. Your girl, Jacinda Ardern, who you tell me all the time you wish you could marry, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Less pushback on that than I thought I'd get. She said,
I was just
let it
cringing.
slide?
I'm just, you know what?
Go ahead,
you know what? No,
go
you
ahead,
can-
Dakota.
you
This
can
is your
continue.
story.
Yes, so essentially, New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, everyone's favorite communist prime minister, will bring back the COVID restrictions in New Zealand, which I find interesting as it battles its biggest ever outbreak with 11,000 cases a day. And I saw that, and I'm like, that's interesting. I'm pretty sure New Zealand is one of the most vaccinated countries in the world. Looked it up. They have, I believe, a 95.2% vaccination
Well,
rate
that's
of
not
those
enough.
fully vaccinated, and it's 73%, I believe, who are fully boosted. So that's just very
It's
significant.
the pandemic
proportion.
of the unboosted, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. And yeah, it's just, very safe and very, very effective vaccines out there, guys.
It's true. All vaccines are safe and effective. Joe Biden actually is the best president and most voted president of all time. The two things you can't say the opposite of on YouTube. There's their vaccination rates, the cumulative total, and then you'll see this little graph down there, 96% vaccinated, and then only a certain, that's not enough. Go scroll down to the 5 and 11-year-olds.
Keep scrolling. I'm looking at these percentages.
Wow, only 28% of 5 to 11-year-olds are fully vaccinated, Dakota. That's disgusting.
Only 20% of the 5-year-olds, Andrew. I can't
That's
believe
disgusting.
That. That's terrible.
What are these rest of these 72% of parents doing if not saving their children's lives with this provenly effective vaccine when children are most affected by COVID of any age group? So much so that they lead in deaths per age group.
This is a pandemic of the children.
This is a pandemic of the children.
The babies are dying left and right from COVID-19.
This is why it was always a good idea
your
to not have
babies
children because of
boosted.
climate change.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, on that note, I believe
Yes.
that leads nicely
Yes.
into Ontario's news. As our paid chat was about earlier, forgive me, about the fact that Ontario, I believe they have now announced they're opening eligibility for the 4th shot, your second booster, I believe it would be termed, for those of us who are 18 years of age and older, as in the general adult
Yeah,
population.
we don't need to play his video.
Get
It's
your
just
4th shot.
get your vaccine or I'll kill you. He didn't actually say that for
No, it
the
did not say
lawyers
that.
watching. I like how this reporter, and I clicked on his name. What was his name again there? I want to make sure I mentioned it. Phil,
I can't really read that. Tescouras?
yeah, Sakouras.
Sakouras.
Wonderful Greek name. Of course he looks like that. I mean, they always look like that. But I just wanted to point out that
Wow.
because...
What's that comment? Is it because his whiteness, his beardedness, his gingerness?
No, they
his
always
glasses?
look like douches, the people who write this stuff. Now,
Thank you for the clarification.
If we go back, he talks about we're in the 7th wave. Go back to the original article there. That's why I took issue with him. Thank you. The announcement comes amid a 7th wave of the virus in Ontario, which has seen a recent increase in the numbers
positivity rates and
hospitalizations. Oh my God, Dakota, the 7th wave.
Yep.
And that's why I wanted to mention who it is, because when people are shills, and it's his profile's like he's a multi-platform breaking news reporter, unless it's CP24, shill articles about vaccinations.
Well, that's the thing. They parrot all the lines of public health almost verbatim, and that's what our favorite chief medical officer of health, Kieran Moore, was saying, is Canada's officially in a 7th wave, and this is a call to arms to everyone to get your 4th shot. And if you haven't, get your 1st and 2nd and 3rd. And
that's right.
Yeah, and I feel like that just, and so, I mean, I think we have a clip of that, or we want to play. Yeah, let's throw this of, very Lenin-like chief medical officer of health.
Last 2 years have been challenging.
You're in 7th wave.
You're in
7th wave has come. The 6th wave is
the global
over.
pandemic together.
Prepare for 7th, 8th,
Your
and 9th
sacrifices
wave.
and collective
Send
actions will
munitions
continue
to
to make
Russia.
a difference as we
We
navigate
must
what is
invade
now
Belarus,
the 7th
Ukraine.
COVID-19
Sorry.
pandemic wave,
Sorry.
driven by BA5 Omicron subvariant.
Yeah, so
There it
in
is.
case you caught any of that, bottom line, we're in a seventh wave. It's a call to arms, kids. And I think that just ties in nicely to what I believe was last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago, that Duclos, the health minister, federal health minister, was saying that we will never be fully vaccinated. It's time to change the definition or the meaning of
that's
fully
true.
vaccinated, saying that it's all about staying up to date with your
Yes.
vaccinations. So you have to get
never enough.
get your most recent booster every 9 months. Yeah. In order to we will never be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, he said. So that's fun.
The reason
Boosters
I point out the
forever.
journalist is because if you're going to write that we're in a seventh wave and not say according to the doctors or allegedly or apparently we're in the seventh wave, then I'm going to go ahead and say that you probably agree with it. And so, RIP CP24C
Why would you
writer.
question the experts, Andrew? You just you parrot what they say. You don't question them. You don't be skeptical. Okay.
Please continue to deliver materials to Russia and support of Germany. What was that story Zelensky complaining about?
Oh yeah, so that was Zelensky getting all mad at Trudeau and Canada in general for sending, I believe it was turbine parts for the Nord Stream pipeline, which is
Continue to
Russia's.
send turbine part.
Yeah, it's the Russia's pipeline to Germany. So it's like Russia wants it so they can give oil to Germany. Germany wants it because they need the oil, and Zelensky's pissed because there are sanctions on Russia, and this is technically breaking sanctions because we're giving Russia parts so that it can sell its oil.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, the social justice necessity of destroying your energy sector and your economy and making people poor, it doesn't work. So they can stand with America and Russia and be like, we hate Russian oil, but when it comes down to it at the end of the day, they're getting parts to get that oil back because they need it, because they can't get it from Saudi Arabia. They're at capacity. Whether they're lying or just laughing at them is another argument, I guess. But Russia's right there. They need the oil. So they're going to
Andrew, I'm sorry. No one on this earth needs oil. We need
That's
to go
true.
full green,
My
zero
apologies.
emissions. This is a great opportunity for the transition away from non-renewable energy
That's
sources. So,
can we
remember
play that? Let's fetch that clip of Lewis and Lincoln from FarmerRebellion.com where they're asking the woman about the 2030 agenda, and she's so confusing with her answers. She doesn't agree with the 2030 agenda, but she agrees with everything that it stands for and that it does.
Is this where he was interviewing the one woman, and the other one comes in and is like, no, we don't agree with that.
But then
you don't speak for the rest of us.
That's right.
Yeah, that was an
I think it's the
interesting
latest one.
interaction. It was a full video report posted yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, this one. Let's go about halfway through there.
Oh, I mean, the cold open, I think, captures the.
Yeah, but once it's a one-on-one.
break. Okay.
Okay, go ahead and play this. Yeah, too far. Too far. Yeah.
Just waiting. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
People here, it was rubbish what you were saying. Really, I'm so upset.
Do you agree that the farmers should lose their land?
Masterful.
Potentially to reduce these nitrogen emissions?
Yes.
Lincoln J for Rebel News here in the city of Hague, about a 40-minute drive outside of Amsterdam. Now, behind me, a demonstration is just wrapping up where
Macaulay
supporters
Culkin
of the
there, or-
farmers are protesting a treaty agreement between Canada and the Netherlands
Macaulay
that coincides with what we are seeing with the farmer protests all
Macaulay
across
Culkin
the
has
Netherlands.
come to
Now,
the
for those of you
Netherlands
that
to
don't
show
know,
support.
farmers
He's
have
also
been
got
protesting
DVDs of
in
Home
this
Alone
country for, I would say, the past month against new environmental policies on nitrogen
the third
emission
one.
that is simply going to decimate the agricultural sector here in the Netherlands. So what the demonstrators are specifically protesting here today is CETA. Now, so with Dutch now signatories to CETA and net exporters of agricultural products, they have agreed to put all their export and trade commodities through this strange requirement to meet the Paris Agreement climate change targets. And Canadians should care because this is a trade agreement authorized by the Liberals, and we are bound by it too. Meaning these nitrogen targets and animal agricultural land use rules could come to Canada too. The Liberals have said CETA's climate targets are not binding, but they also said the Paris Accord itself was not binding, but then they built a carbon tax around it and raised it twice. This is from the agreement, quote, It means ensuring that trade agreements include strong provisions in important areas such as labor rights, environmental protection, and gender equality, and reinforces the continued right of government to regulate in the public interest. In that regard, CETA is the most ambitious and progressive trade agreement Canada and the EU have ever negotiated. End quote. It stands for Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement. So why are governments working on this treaty? How is it going to benefit them? It's simple. The benefits of the treaty are immediately noticeable for companies. Abolition of reduction of import duties, and 98% of the import tariffs on products eventually expire. If the Social Democrats vote for CETA, it will pass. Now back to the farmers, and why is CETA bad particularly for the farmers? CETA gives multinationals many advantages. So you may ask yourself, why is there a Trojan horse here at the demonstration? Well, what it's supposed to represent is international cooperation. But what it really means is corporations having more overreach. So we're standing here outside of the Senate in the city of Hague, where they're going to be voting on this treaty tomorrow. We actually had the opportunity to speak with a lawyer here in the Netherlands who stands with the farmers and explains to us why this treaty is not good for anybody, and especially not for Canadians and the Dutch. Let's check it out. We saw people here with Extinction Rebellion flags, and at first glance you would think that they would potentially be against the farmers, but it might not be that way. Can you kind of explain a little bit?
Yeah. Now, in Holland, the farmers and Extinction Rebellion also work together on some issues. On some, no, on some. Well, you're lying. Well,
no, really, you're talking about fatherland, our people, our nation. It's not a nation.
You're kind of against what's going on with the farmers. Can you kind of explain?
Yes, I'm not eating meat because I think it's
horrible
horrible to eat meat.
Yeah. This is what happens when you
see how
sat
they
at home
treat
for 20
animals
years watching soap
in a
operas.
cage with all young,
Listen to what she says.
how do you call it, baby pigs. And we are exporting that much to Africa, and we are competing to the African farmers, and we destroyed our market. So small farmers making food for your own country, less animals, eat something else.
Do you think that, so do you agree that the farmers should lose their land, potentially, to reduce these nitrogen emissions?
Yes. To
So you
save
believe
the climate and save the other animals.
Kick out the
if
farmers.
you see the birds,
Never happened.
The government
because they
starts
have
seizing their land. No,
Never
that's
happened.
great.
And here,
some stuff,
I might as well mention that
less
she's
stuff,
talking
the
about
bones
that she was a
are
nurse and she lost her job because there wasn't a
really
demand for a
tiny.
nurse.
They are
She
not
compares
growing
that to
the
the
birds
government
anymore
coming in
because
and telling
there's,
you can't work anymore
Yeah.
and
too much
forcing you to
stick
sell your
stuff. I
land.
don't
Basically
know.
just saying like, oh yeah, you've been farming for generations. That's what you've been doing. All right, well just find another
Won't-
job.
That's the same
sell
thing
your-
as her
If they get
being
rid of
laid
the
off,
farmers' land
apparently, according
and
to
they
her.
build
Did
houses-
the government come in and force a lack of need for
That's what
nurses?
they try.
No, and then maybe you'd have a point. All right, let's come back here. This woman's
Yeah.
nuts, and then Lewis says, "Are you a fan of Agenda 2030?" She says,
Lincoln?
"No." No, Lewis
Lincoln
comes
Lewis
in.
comes in. I'm like,
Dakota.
she's interviewing Lincoln.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't
Lewis
know.
comes in
Man,
and
I
says,
missed
"Do you
this
agree with
part.
2030?" And she's like, "No, I don't believe in any of that." And obviously, she agrees with all the stuff that's in it. She just doesn't want to say she agrees with that because apparently she's a frequent protester.
Well, she just keeps saying, "Oh, well, we need this. The farmers need to just stop farming and give up their land
For
because
climate change.
for climate change, or else we're all gonna die." you
That's
know?
right, Dakota.
So-
all right, let's throw to another break here, and then we'll come back with some. What's the word I'm looking for? Some non-compliant baseball players.
Sounds like a fun time.
We are wondering what is happening to the world. Everything is changing.
The very idea of human being some sort of natural concept is really going to change.
Our bodies will be so high-tech, we won't be able to really distinguish between
what's natural and what's artificial.
Inside our own heads is the most complex arrangement of matter in the known universe.
You might ask yourself, can we get to be superhumans?
Like I said last week, Dakota, I'm just hoping Keanu Reeves sees this and he's like, this is close enough to the Matrix that I'll lend my voice to it.
Yes, when we secure Keanu Reeves for our Exposed to Reset docuseries, I will be a very happy man. You know, I'll be very satisfied. That's all we need here.
All right, so JT Real Muto, which is a great name, by the way, is a back catcher in the major leagues. And in order to come to Canada to play against Toronto, you have to be vaccinated, of course. He said no. He said he's not going to adhere to Canada on what he puts in his body. Let's take a look at this. Forking over $250,000. Which just shows you how much he gets paid.
Yeah, he's like, well, yeah. Let's watch the clip. And it's a little bit of money. It's not worth it. I'm like, ooh, $250,000. Okay, that's just a little bit of money.
Reservations with the
I'm a healthy 31-year-old professional athlete that I just didn't feel a need to get it. I've had COVID a couple of times and super mild symptoms back when it first came out, and when it came time to decide whether I needed a vaccine or not, talked with a couple of doctors that I knew and told them my story, and just really decided I didn't think I needed it. And I wasn't going to take it just because I was told to, basically. So
even if it meant not necessarily, because you're going to forfeit a good amount of salary.
yeah, but I mean, what's money when I'm not going to let Canada tell me what I do and don't put in my body for a little bit of money? It's just not worth it for me.
Just a little bit of money. It's not worth it. I mean, to be fair, I respect for the integrity, but a little bit of money. Okay.
Players get paid an insane amount because they play 162 games. There was another player who said it was a mistake for him to tell his team that he got a positive test, even though he has extremely mild symptoms. And he says he's just not going to say it next time because now he's forced to not play for 2 weeks. Let's get to some paid chats here, and then we will. We'll see you guys later, I guess. We're running out of time. We'll try not to pull a David Menzies and go to 6 o'clock tonight.
Yeah. Sean Marie G83. I got you, Dakota. Andrew, you are so cool.
You have no idea.
So very cool.
No idea how much I'm going to be talking about that the next couple days.
Emoji sunglasses here.
And what was her name? Shauna Marie
G83.
Shout out, Shauna Marie. I expect you to reiterate every time I'm on how cool I am to the entire audience. Thank you. Tweet it at me even. I'll retweet it. G Melinda G60. Are they naming themselves after guns or planes? I don't know.
Maybe just Texas, so I don't know.
There, maybe. Here in Texas, we love Rebel News, and we love you. Shout out to Juan
Mendoza.
Exactly, that one.
Juan.
No, the other one, yes. And producer Mauricio, who produces the Rebel News Espanol content. And producer Efron, who just walked in. He speaks Spanish too, I am told.
I am black. Says the next time you post nudes on Twitter, put a pride flag in the pic. That will calm all the voices. That's a genius idea, Andrew. You want to post news to Twitter, throw a pride flag in there.
This is the part of the show where we throw the crumpled up paper at the camera and we say goodbye to Dakota Christensen. Rebelnews.com/live streams is where you will get the daily feed and the native feed.
Wait, one more paid chat, Andrew. Let's let this last. Get your paperback? No. We'll get this paid chat. Sean Marie G83 again. Why is Kieran Moore always smiling when he gives his doomsday announcements?
Do not forget to send armaments to Eastern Germany to help Russia export oil.
Yeah. I feel like he's never felt more important in his life. He loves just sitting there and telling you, it's a call to arms. Get vaccinated. We're locking down.
Here. Macaulay Culkin will be telling us how we can put the booby traps.
You know what? That would be great. Also, if they were to hire on actual celebrities to come on and make announcements, you get your favorite actors to come up and be like, by the way, guys, all of Ontario is locking down next week, full lockdown.
They do that,
but it's like Macaulay Culkin up there giving the announcement, or Keanu Reeves, as we mentioned, gets up there. He's like, all right, guys,
jacks and stuff, and scolding hot doorknobs.
Yeah,
but if you remember, Ryan Reynolds lied about stuff. He said tons of teens are getting sick at the beginning of the
Well,
pandemic.
they use them for propaganda purposes.
Exactly.
But I mean, like, the press conference where they're announcing, like,
instead of
guys,
that.
the whole province is going into lockdown. We're bringing back, the mask mandates are coming back. Or, oh, get your 10th booster. Like, for those ones where they make announcements, you get your, like, a line of celebrities that come up and be like, all right, guys, next up, just to soften the blow here, I'm, Keanu Reeves here to tell you that you're all going into full lockdown. And if you leave your home, you will be shot.
Yeah. I haven't worked on a Keanu Reeves accent. I was hoping you'd name somebody else.
What are you doing? You have to get your 4th vaccine. You have to get the booster shot.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's just Arnold every time he goes on
exactly.
social media these days. So.
Dakota Christensen, myself, Andrew Chaptos. Don't forget to catch us on Twitter where I'm getting suspended for nudes all the time.
All the time.
Rebelnews.com/live streams for your favorite link of the day and all of our live streams. We have some coming up. We just had one for the debates in Alberta, so always check back there. Hit that notification bell in the corner if you're on YouTube and all that jazz. And we're going to leave you with more Kieran Moore, I think, is what's going to happen here.
Yeah. But in the meantime, as Menzies says,
don't
stay
say
sane,
it. Don't say it.
But,
run a marathon.
As Andrew says,
I wouldn't lie to you except for maybe this once.
All right.
Go run a marathon.
Do it. Actually, no, don't.
I don't think you can get in trouble.
5 million Ontarians have yet to receive their first booster, and over 1.6 million Ontarians at the highest risk for severe outcomes have not received their second. These individuals are strongly encouraged to do so as soon as possible to protect themselves from severe illness and hospitalization, especially for those that are over 60 years of age. While my call for arms remains the loudest for the most vulnerable in our communities, we've made the decision to expand the eligibility for second boosters to include Ontarians aged from 18 to 59 years of age. Beginning July 14th, individuals in this age group may choose to get a second booster if it has been 5 months since receiving the previous booster dose and at least 3 months after any COVID-19 infection.